Fear did it. That's why it didn't last. That's why it didn't work out. That's why you don't understand why it keeps happening to you. Fear. Whatever situation or scenario you can make that applicable to when it comes to relationships, especially because that's what I'm on today, relationships. I always recognize that when people who are doing what they call the most, doing their best, showing up, being consistent, there's people who are not aware that they're not consistent, don't know that they're not doing their best or showing up the way that they only know how. That's fine. What happens for me is when you try to communicate it, how do they respond and react? How are you responding and reacting? How are they responding and reacting? Because in that moment, fear will either rip it apart or bring you together. And there's a sticky line between both of those. With the ripping it apart, I've seen a lot of good relationships end because of the fear of vulnerability, the fear of trying to be honest. And I don't mean honest about cheating or deception or any of that. I mean just being honest with yourself of, do I want this? Am I ready for this? Am I capable of this? Because a lot of people really do just hop into relationships because they look good and they feel good, but they don't know how to maintain them because they don't know how to maintain themselves, right? Then there's the people when there's the fear, but the fear is not so much about giving up before they recognize. There's the fear of the trauma bond where, oh my God, I recognize this dysfunction. I recognize how this feels. It's like something I remember, and I don't know if I love it or not, but I remember it because I remember it. It's comforting, right? It's been said before. I'm not making anything up that enough people have not repeated and resonated all over the internet, right? Fear will put you in a relationship that you are not meant to be in. And you will stay there out of fear of feeling like a failure, feeling like you don't want to be alone, feeling like there's no one good out there for you, so you may as well settle, right? Again, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be excited about someone new and engaging and giving your all. But are you doing it because you're ready and willing to give and can handle giving? And even if you know it won't work out when they walk away, you won't feel depleted or drained or resentful because you willingly participated, right? That's the part of where I tell people, if you're going to play the game of relationships, know that you have nothing to lose. Because if you have everything to lose, you probably should not be engaging in that relationship. Am I lying or am I lying? I'm just trying to tell people the truth. So when you go into these situations, what is your fear level? Are you afraid of being abandoned? Are you afraid of being manipulated? Are you afraid, right? These are all these attachment styles we talk about. They're all just attached to fear and anxiety of letting go or letting in. What is your level and threshold of fear in relationships? May it be romantic, platonic, familial, whatever, but specifically romantic. Because if you, again, get into a relationship and you fear everything, that fear will come to life. It's just how it happens. I've done it to myself, unfortunately. I've been in situations when it's been done to me, and I learned from that, and I recognize that pattern very quickly. Don't repeat that pattern. Do not go into that relationship where every 5 seconds, do you love me? Do you like me? Do you need me? That's fear talking. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with having somebody in a secure place where they're finally breaking down walls and they just want reassurance. That should be within the first couple months to a year of getting to know each other. But 8 years in, you still asking that. Go work on that now. Go talk to somebody. I'm just saying. I'm not making fun of anyone because I've been there, but I've also been in situations where I know how to. I'm at the point now where I know how to talk myself out of things where I'm like, you're settling out of fear. You're not settling out of companionship or attraction or any type of semblance of how you guys get along. You just are like, oh, we match. They like me, so I guess I like them. That's, be careful with that. Again, some people can handle those relationships, and this is where you get into situationships and players and all that stuff. So if you willingly step into somebody's mess, just be prepared to wash off your feet and wipe off the mat, whatever you got to do to not drag it into the next relationship, because that's just how it goes. That is going to be my new saying. It is just how it goes. Just how you eat, you shall poop. That's just how it goes. There's no stopping that process unless you stop that process, right? So there's parts of life, that's just how it goes. There's no getting around it. There's no avoiding it. So fear is going to always be a part of anything that we do because it's how we as humans gauge the room. That's how we gauge survival. Does this feel safe? Does this not feel safe? Some people, what they call snowflakes, are a little bit less experienced than others. So everything feels like an attack and it's fearful to them. And that's why I said I don't feel bad for people who that's who they are. I feel bad for the conditioning they were given, right? Because the human themselves is not at fault. They don't know that they were manipulated into believing that they have to be that submissive or broken or not trusting anyone, that they can only believe in what somebody close to them says, and or trust this book only or trust this government only, like, right? That's fear. I can't control that. But I can observe that that's what state they're being they're in, and I can respect that and stay far away from it, because fear will attack, period. Fear will always have you attacking something because it doesn't know. That is the point of the unknown. Fear kicked in, and it's like, why don't I know what's over there? Maybe that thing. Remember, our ancestors back in the day, they used to go across land and never come back. You don't know if they were alive or gone. Years later, oh, hi, we thought you were gone. Oh, yeah, it was just too far to go back. We found this little piece of land. We liked it. We've been growing a colony there, girl. That's our ancestors. People left for months and years on odysseys and then come back and be like, hey, ain't we still married? No. Maybe somebody stuck around, but I'm like, no. I didn't know if we had a rule. This is an expiration. But that's the point of knowing, like, what is your fear level, right? You got to play with it. You got to laugh about it, because when you're going to a relationship, any relationship, again, you have to know how much of that person's baggage you can handle and how much of it you know that you're going to not hold, but be willing to set aside for them to go and organize and walk through later, right? I will hold space for you for that. But if you just piling up and piling up and piling up, I'm going to get to it. Baby, there's a latch. I'll pull that thing. It's going to drop right down to the trash can, because that's where that belongs. If you don't want to hold it and you ain't going through it, I definitely am not going to be taking up space in my energy for it. So I am not perfect. I have definitely gone into relationships with fearful tactics, because there is a level of putting up boundaries. And then once the boundaries have been proven to be effective and the person is respectful, again, we don't know if someone is a covert narcissist and all this. Don't go out here sabotaging good relationships because you can't tell anymore, because we can't tell anymore. And it's sad. But at the same time, stop living life, or don't stop living life because you're afraid of taking a chance on something you've probably recognized before. Again, all patterns are there because it's something we recognize. Once it's observable, real patterns are you don't notice that it's a pattern because it goes smoothly. When there's a hiccup or a discrep or something that's incorrect in that pattern, we notice. So trust your instinct. When something feels off, it's off. If something feels too good to be true, that means that you need to go inside of you and check with you and be like, am I afraid of something here? Because yeah, there are things where it's too good to be true, where it just doesn't make sense, and everything is, again, if you're dating someone for 3 months, you better know by that point if this person is just holding wolves over your eye. Again, you're not always going to be able to tell. There are some master manipulators out there. But when you trust yourself and walk in faith and walk in spirit and you walk in light, the universe will always remove them from your path. That's the one thing I've learned. Like, don't stress about it. Don't worry about somebody cheating. Don't worry about somebody lying. Don't worry about somebody being deceptive. As long as you know in your true of his heart you are being the righteous person that you are for yourself and you're not trying to hurt nobody, they will be removed from your path accordingly. And when they are removed, let them be. Don't go chasing after them. Trust your intuition and your spirit guides, because they're there to help you, because that's the part where they get frustrated. Like, we took them out your life 8 times and you ran back every time. This is not a test. This is a lesson you should have passed, but you keep running back, and once you win it, you win it. So, it's about experience, and again, it's about letting yourself let it happen. So fear is always going to be there. Let it play out. That is the best answer I can give you. If it's going to put you physically in harm, get out. But if you know it's just emotional and it's just in your own spirit or it's in your own head, observe it. Take note. It can be the best lesson you never needed to learn, or the best blessing that you deserved and earned. Anywho, hope that makes sense. Love ya. Mwah.